Well, you say DUI and driving under the influence, and most people think, oh, that's drink driving, of course, but there is driving under the influence of drugs as well.
Absolutely.
Now, the state government will be investigating whether medicinal cannabis users should be allowed to drive on Queensland roads. We need to find out a little bit more about this today. Reporter Mia Glover is with us. Good morning, Mia. What's happening with this?
Morning, guys. Yeah, the state government is reportedly looking at shaking up the current drug driving laws, and that could include allowing those who take medicinal cannabis to allow them to be behind the wheel, evidently. So currently the laws are that you're not allowed to drive with any sort of trace of cannabis in your system. But the state government says it's looking into this because of the massive amount of drivers who have, in recent times, been caught driving with drugs in their system. But some of those that have been nabbed have been these people that have had medicinal cannabis administered to them. So it's a very controversial move, and one that is certainly dividing Queenslanders this morning.
Mia, isn't the THC, which is the chemical that sort of has the hallucinogenic effects, isn't that removed from medicinal cannabis?
Well, no, apparently it's still, there's traces of it still in some medicinal cannabis products. So I think that's the concern. That psychoactive ingredient is still sometimes in that cannabis, depending on what sort of medicinal cannabis you have. You know, you can get oils, you can get different sorts of things. But I think that's the big concern, and they'll have to figure out how to, I suppose, what the effects are of that on someone who is behind the wheel. A lot of drivers I've spoken to today said as long as it doesn't affect people's driving, then they don't mind. But some say, well, you just don't know until you're on the road with these people or what's it going to do. So it's very, very interesting.
And I presume if the police do pull over someone, they detect marijuana in their system, then it's up to the person to prove that it is medicinal marijuana.
Yeah, 100%. So they've got to obviously have like a medical certificate or something from their doctor to say that this has been administered for medicinal purposes. But still at this stage, under the current laws, you're not allowed to have any sort of trace. So if it does come up on a roadside test, a drug test, then you still have to you're not allowed to drive, evidently, because it still has that ingredient in it. So they're looking at changing that because obviously now that is a big issue as well, because so many people are taking medicinal cannabis for different ailing conditions. So it could be different, and it could be something that we see happen in the next couple of years. This review is going to finish up at the end of next year.
Well, I suppose they just have to come up with a level. Like with drinking, they've decided it's 0.05. With drugs, they'd have to work out what's the acceptable level.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, how do you measure that? I suppose you'd have to trial it and see what happens, sort of thing. Maybe that's on the cards as part of this review, a trial to see those who do take medicinal cannabis, see how they go, what the reading is. We're just not too sure how it's going to play out, but it's pretty controversial.
As we know, Mia, though, Olivia Newton-John was a very strong advocate for medicinal cannabis as pain relief, and it is a growing thing now, so it's not the sort of thing that will just go away. Obviously, they have to do more research into it.
100%. I mean, you look around the world and it has been legalised in so many countries and so many states. It's just going to be a matter of time of when that happens here. So we do need to start looking at these measures because, like you say, so many people do rely on medicinal cannabis for pain relief. So it's a very interesting topic, but one that's going to be pretty hard for authorities to navigate.
Basically, if they're giggling and eating pizza, they've had too much.
Gary, it's not that old stigma, no. Today, reporter Mia Glover, thank you so much, and sorry about that.
I wouldn't know.
Well done.
Good answer.
Nice work. Well done to Mia Glover. Today, reporter there, absolving herself. Well done. Beautiful.